Okay. This is Barbara Ladinsky, who I'm co-president of Chelmsford Art Society, and it's my pleasure tonight to have Jimmy Lee do an art presentation for us. Jimmy has a very unique style of art that we are going to be discussing tonight. Jimmy's background is he is a creative director with Draft Studios in Lowell. He is at Western Avenue, and when you, on the first Saturday every month, you can see him at Studio 404 at Western Ave, and I'm sure a lot of other times of the day, but there's some really interesting art on stage, and he's going to talk about how he does his art, and I know a lot of it has some ethnicity to it, and he will explain some of that. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me. Like Barbara said, I kind of started as an illustrator. Didn't go to school, didn't do any of that stuff. Just kind of draw what I like since I was a kid, and that kind of evolved into a hobby until, you know, you just keep challenging yourself. And then I think it wasn't until when I was in college that got in touch with kind of some people in the community. We kind of I went to this church group. And,
what church group is this, and what community are we talking about?
Oh, sorry.
Explain,
Sorry. So I'm from Lowell. And,
Okay.
And this was at a St. Patrick's church. I am not affiliated with that church, but I went there for the free food and ping pong. So that kept me going, like every week. So I met everybody there, and eventually they kind of turned me on to the coping saw. And so that's what you see here. I like kind of crafting stuff myself. I like working with my hands. So one day, this guy named Tong, that guy's uncle over there, he kind of took me over. We had dinner, and he showed me the art that he used to do. Like, I guess back in Vietnam, the whole family kind of did that. They were all like woods crafters and stuff like that. And then over here, he was telling me how when he came to America, he like had a little mall kiosk, and then like you'd come in and it'd be like, oh, your name's Barbara. He makes a little nameplate out of it, and
Okay.
then that's what it is. And then he went in
So what country does this art originate in?
Vietnam.
Vietnam. Okay.
So what you see here is probably not really represent the traditional way, because you'll see like the lines and stuff. I like to draw the line myself with the pen and stuff, but traditionally each line is cut with the saw itself.
Oh.
And I'm not trying to do that much work, so I'll just use a pen, and it looks good. But traditionally, it's like, I've seen it a lot for like weddings and stuff. I haven't seen too much of it. Like you probably wouldn't find it online. Min, do you know what it's called? Yeah, no idea. But this saw is the very saw that he used. So
Okay.
I have all his stuff. He gave it to
So
me.
that's
Like,
a very basic tool to be able to
Yeah.
do this amount of work.
I mean, it's just a piece of metal, a wooden handle, and just the coping blade here is just like, it's like a little wire. It's a pretty fine tooth, but that's pretty much all I
Now,
use.
what type of wood are you using here?
It varies. Like it varies from like birch plywood, like tend to be on the softer side.
Softer side?
Yeah, harder wood is just really, really tough. But yeah, we can. I can go through the process with you guys, kind of like from beginning to end. So typically I draw everything on Photoshop. That's kind of where I'm most used to. I kind of stopped drawing on paper because I'm really, really messy on paper, and Photoshop's way easier.
You can correct your mistakes easily.
Yeah. So I brought a couple examples, just, draw like anime stuff, stuff that I enjoy drawing, because I'm not going to do it unless I enjoy it.
So the animation that you're doing and the drawings that you're doing, are you using them in artwork that you're putting in videos, or how are you using it?
At first, just to decorate my room.
Okay. Good
And
red.
then, and then for commissions and stuff, some of my buddies, little birthday gift or something, you know. It was never like, I never intended to like make a business out of it. It's just something that I just always done. Whether I got paid or not, I'd be doing it anyway. So I brought a couple of illustrations, a couple of prints just to kind of show you a little bit of my background and kind of the stuff I'm into.
Okay.
As far as the more stuff what we're going to do with the coping saw today, it's going to be pretty much like this. So I would draw it on the computer. Oh, let me show you. And then I'd go and print out the whole template. So it's going to look something like this. I have the frame here, so I have an idea of like what's it going to look like once matted. And then I go and separate all the layers. So I got, in this particular one, it's going to be like some clouds and some cranes.
Okay. Now, is that a balsam wood? No, what it?
This is birch. This is
Birch.
birch plywood. So this is a 1/8 inch. The ones in the big cases are 1/4 inch.
Okay. So they don't flex a lot when you're working on them?
A little bit. So once you start cutting it, like the board may be warped, but once you cut out the shape and kind of like present it in this manner, it's not really a big deal. And I reuse stuff. If you see the back of it is some failed experiments. But the front is still pretty cool. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll print it out, put some carbon paper underneath it, and then I go and trace it. So I'll try to get done with some of this today. I'll show you guys like my method of tracing it, then I'll ink it, and then we can look.
Now, are you
look
just
to
using
cut it.
India ink to ink? Or?
Oh, no, so I use these micron pens.
Okay.
I use a 5 and a 3, only because I like the silhouette a little bit darker than the inside. But I use the sepia, the brown, just because it looks, you know, I like the way it looks on the wood.
Okay.
Pretty simple, nothing crazy. But some of these other ones you'll see, like I've experimented with kind of washing it with like a little bit of watercolor to just give it a little bit of tone, some color.
Yeah, I know your serpent has like sepia or brown on it.
Right,
or
so
darker on it.
this was also another experiment. This one actually wasn't cut with the coping saw. This one, I made the design on Illustrator, and then I had a laser company cut it for me. And then, because I wanted not just the outside to be cut, but I wanted it to be engraved as well, so that the cutter can slice off a layer and then cut around it. And it's kind of expensive to do, so I don't really recommend doing it. But the effect could be nice. It's just hard to tell what it's going to look like until it's done already. So in this one, it has color, but you got to look really close. Then the contrast isn't quite there. Some of the other runs we did looked a lot better. But I'm just giving you this as an example because
Now, does the person who does the laser cutting, are they also at Western Avenue?
they have a whole company that's like a big business that they
Okay.
cut stuff for, like industries or you know, all kinds of stuff. That was probably the first time that they ever had to do something like that. Normally
Good
they're
experiment, yes.
Yeah, and then this is probably the latest one. I've been kind of leaning towards doing the really, really big ones, only because they just look more impressive, and I wanted to create a little bit more depth, because I kind of like that 3D look.
Yes.
But then
Very nice, yes.
I like sculpture, but I can't sculpt, so this is pretty good.
So
This
how
is,
many layers are in that piece?
let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 layers.
6 layers?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and this is 1/4 inch wood, and that's as much space as I have in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it depends on how deep the frame is.
Right,
Or
so-
else you're buying custom frames.
So yeah, this is an off-the-shelf shadow box.
Okay.
They're just convenient. Something like this. This was custom made. The man who gave me the saw, he also gave me a few of the frames that he makes himself. So pieces like this.
Now, how many layers are in that one? Because that looks pretty deep.
1, 2, 3, 4. Just 4.
4?
Yeah. Yeah. But then the wood on here, because I couldn't fit the regular plywood I was working on, I had to use like really, really thin, like almost laminate. to do it, just to really press it in there.
Okay.
And yeah, why don't I just start tracing this, and then we'll see where we go. Any of you guys got any questions? Come on.
Yeah, does
Come
our
on,
audience
guys.
have any
Come on.
questions? We have 8 online.
YouTube, you don't see this, but this place is packed. It's crazy. It's just dead silent. All right, so when I'm tracing over this, I'm just using a regular lead pencil.
Okay.
I like the lead because if I'm tracing over it, and I'm the kind of guy who takes a lot of breaks, I'll trace it and then I forget where I left off. So then with graphite, you kind of do this and you can see the last thing you drew. So let me just go ahead and do this real quick, and I'll cut this out.
And there's no possibility of erasing anything when you make a mistake, is there?
When I do make a mistake, I'll use like a little razor blade and kind of
Oh,
chip
okay.
away at the wood. But you can't do that too much because then you can see all these marks in the wood, you know. And that's kind of that's the thing about this, because when I'm drawing on the computer, I like my lines perfect. So I work very, very hard to get the exact curve or whatever that I'm looking for. And then when I translate this to wood, I'm drawing it like 4 times over again, you know? So
Okay.
then it's never going to be perfect again. So,
Yeah.
and then when you're drawing in it, you have the grain in the wood that's kind of like
Yes,
working
that
against
has-
you.
Yeah, and it has an texture to it
And
when you
yeah,
cut.
so I'm a little OCD on the lines, but I just gotta let it go. So.
I just want to mention that this is our last demo for this season for the Chelmsford Art Society. And if you have any suggestions of the type of art or artists that you would like to see, we would love to get an email to the Chelmsford Art Society email, and so that we can look at booking people for next season. And this season will start in September, going until the next May.
Okay, so real quickly, if I need to check my work, I just lift this thing up, and then you can see, you know, this whole thing. So let me just flesh out the details real quick. This is probably the fastest I've ever worked, so don't zoom in too much, it's very sloppy.
Now, you're just tracing that currently?
Right, right. And then I'm gonna go over it again with the marker. Okay.
So do you have to press down very firmly with the pencil as you're tracing that?
Nah, not really. This is a fresh piece of transfer paper, so it takes pretty well. Sometimes you press too much, the lines get too dark, and the brown doesn't show up. All right. So here's with a little bit of more detail.
Okay, you can start to see the
Yeah,
outline, yes.
and that's enough for me to know, because this is kind of just guiding the next step, which is the ink. So once I put this in ink, then that's what it'll be. So we can go ahead and peel this off. Welcome. You sure you got no questions? Yeah, it's pretty
Well,
straightforward.
they'll start heckling you, but be careful.
What's that?
They'll start heckling, can be careful
Oh,
what you ask for.
That's okay. I can handle it.
So about how long of a process, if you, one of your big pieces of work, like the Phoenix that's over there, how many hours do you suspect you put into that?
Oh, man.
Couple hundred?
Oh, no. Well, actually, I needed to make that in order to put it into a show in a gallery at Western Ave. And so I worked really hard in trying to get it as fast as possible, and it took me about a month.
How long?
A month.
A month?
A month, but like, whenever I have time. And then the hardest part too is just coming up with the design, because every time I start one of these, I don't really know what I'm doing. And,
Okay.
and I'd never drawn a Phoenix before, but I wanted
okay.
to use it as like a milestone piece.
So there's not traditional patterns that you're looking at and duplicating or symbolisms that you're putting into your work?
I guess sometimes. I mean, the Phoenix itself is, a symbol, but like, I kind of keep it in the more Asian themed stuff, and you can see like it's very like tattoo kind of influenced. But these are kind of things I just think are cool myself. So,
Okay.
a lot of my commissions, I tell them like, I'll do something for you, but you have no say in the thing I'm going to do.
Oh, really?
So it's.
I want this particular Phoenix or this particular dragon on my wall?
I mean, I'll entertain it for a little bit, but it gets a little crazy. It gets a little crazy with the demands.
I have a comment from somebody in the audience. They said you didn't major in art, but what did you major in?
Oh, great. So I went to UMass Lowell, and I started as a chemical engineer.
Oh.
And I had a concentration in nanotech. So at the time, nanotech was the next thing,
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And so I did that, and at the time, we had a family business in Lowell too. It was like a little convenience store. And I had to work there. And then I used to work as an interior painter too. So I did that because my parents never paid me. And then going to school, I do my schoolwork at the counter at work, at the store, and then you got all these people who want to play Keno and scratch tickets, and I was just like, I can't do it, impossible. It was like not even a full semester, and I was like, all right, this is, I can't do it anymore. So I went to the health field as like undeclared, only because that came a lot more natural to me. And then eventually I met some professors just randomly, kind of got me into community health. I really, really liked some of those professors because they preached what they did in the classroom out in the real world.
Okay.
Some of these teachers were like environmental activists and things like that, and did some really, really good work all around the country. And so I thought it was pretty good. Joined in there, got right in, and once I was in community health for a while, I picked up environmental health. So I have 2 degrees, technically. So it's pretty nice. Probably not going to do that forever. I want to do this. If we can get famous on YouTube, we'll do this, and we'll be good.
Go for it.
Yeah, so. Not saying you shouldn't go to college.
I have a background in education and an MIS degree, and now doing art. So
there you go.
Just don't wait until I did, like I was retired to do it.
Yeah. At Western Ave, there's like a lot of people who have retired, found art and found that to be like their calling. And I already know this is, I was doing this before anything, so I already know it's my calling, so I'm trying to do this as much as I can.
Go ahead.
And growing up, I really didn't know any other artists, so I would just go home and draw in a notebook, so I had stacks and stacks of books.
I was just wondering, are there any artists who influenced you, who you really liked a lot?
Oh, yeah.
Their style?
Tons. Do I know their names? Not really. Because, I grew up in internet age, so it's like, it's all like, there's a ton of people like on Instagram now these days. It's just like incredible just work. And it's just like you scroll, you follow, and like I'm following like hundreds of them, and they're, I draw inspiration from a lot of places, and most important for me is kind of building that mental bank of images, and the best way I guess I can explain that is like everyone knows what like a motorcycle looks like, right? But then if you had to draw one, you draw two wheels and you're like no idea what to do next. So I just try my best to kind of look and look at the small nitty-gritty details of everything pretty much. So if you come to our studio, I've got like a ton of just art books. So
Because all of your work seems to have a lot of action in it.
yeah, because I really try to convey a lot of like flow. I like it kind of to feel like it's moving a little bit because I like the harmony of lines. So it's fun for me because like I said, there's times when well, every time I don't know what I'm doing. I just start a project because with every project I started because I want to learn the subject more, and so when I do it, it's almost like like discovery. So I'll draw something, I'll be on like this tablet. I was like, oh, that looks nice, and I step back. I was like, I can't believe I just did that. That was really cool. So that's why I like the art. It's that exploration. It's that it's gratifying, and when you keep doing it something new, then it never gets stale, and it's rewarding throughout the process, not just the end of it. A lot of these pieces, I do only one because I would hate to do it again because then it just feels like work at that point.
So you will never mass produce for a restaurant or something, will you?
No, so I've actually done this one twice, and it's killing me. So I know you guys invited me to do this like months ago, but I probably only prepared for this yesterday. And
Hey, I talked to you in like October or something.
yeah, I wrote a little bio, but that's about it. But what's funny is that so all these tools that have been passed down to me, very, very old, and I don't really make these all that often. So this piece of wood is 10 years old, over 10 years. I've had this piece of wood for over 10 years.
Okay.
These little blades that I've got, they're probably like 12 years old. And over the years, like the guy who taught me, he only gave me like one roll to use. And by the time I finished all these, I'd broken them all. And then yesterday, I'm working on, no, it was earlier today before coming here. I was working on this thing, and I wanted to cut some out just to show you guys. And then I snapped it. And then I was like, that's it, I'm done, my career's over. And then luckily, this guy happens to be my neighbor.
So can't you just go to
Right.
Lowe's or
No.
Home Depot and buy another one?
So these are pretty, they're like a specialty item. I can't even really find them on Amazon. They
Are
have
they diamond bladed?
No, they're just carbon steel. But a lot of times, like you'll find in the big box store, they'll have these blades, but it's meant for like a scroll saw or a fret saw, something more like, not a hand tool, And I've tried, so when I broke my last blade, I popped in one of those, and it was horrible, unusable. And then I ended up going over to this guy's house. It's like, hey, you got any saws? I'm doing an art demo later. And he was like, oh my God, he's like, you still do that? And he hadn't even thought about it for the longest time. And so he had to sit there. He like stood there and thought forever. Then he leaves, and like 2 minutes later, he comes out with this bundle of blades. And I was like, awesome. So, but other than that, everything else is pretty readily available.
Was there anyone in your family who influenced you to go this direction?
They probably influenced me not to go in this direction if I'm honest. You know, what can I say? Asian parents, you know? They're like,
Asian parents who succeed in business, who succeed with good grades.
they're like, be a doctor, be a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. Luckily, I'm the youngest of 6 boys, so by the time they got to me, they kind of too tired to really care. So yeah, I was able to do the health field thing and whatever, and then, you know, I kind of do this stuff almost in like isolation, other than, you know, some of the guys and my friends that know me. But as far as my family goes, they're not really like super involved in this kind of thing.
What do they think of your art?
They think it's nice. I mean, they have to.
You're their son, yes.
They think it's nice. No, I've made them some stuff before, but very, very clearly growing up, it was not something that they would, encourage me to do.
But that's true of a lot of artists, because I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
I have a daughter who went to RISD,
Right.
and my husband and I both are in the high-tech field, and it's like when she wanted to go to art, it was like, can you
Yeah.
support yourself? Can
Right.
you make money? Can you live by yourself? It's a hard thing to make a living in.
Yeah, it is. It is. And and that's why like people do it when they retire. But then, why wait till you retire to do something you really like doing? You know. So if you can squeeze it in there, go for it, because it's kind of all up to you to do it. I have a family, job, side job, doing all this stuff, but you got to make time for yourself to create stuff. Yeah, all right, I got to get back to this thing. How are we doing on time? Oh, God. All right.
Okay, I just want to mention that this presentation tonight is, we have gotten 2 grants from both the Chelmsford Cultural Council and the Billerica Cultural Council that are help deferring our fees this year for expenses for running the Chelmsford Art Society and also for the presentation fees that we are having each month. We have projected that we will be doing the Chelmsford Art Show at the 4th of July, but we have a deadline where we're going to have people sign up and actually say that they are helping by another week or so, or else the show's not going to go on. We did get a specific grant from the Chelmsford Cultural Council to cover the 4th of July show, but we need bodies to help. So if you are interested at all in helping with the 4th of July show, please send an email to the Chelmsford Art Society email at gmail.com to let us know your take on that, because it's a lot of work and just the board cannot do it alone, so we need help. And as I said before, if you have any artists or a type of media that you would like to see as a presentation next season, please let us know, because we will start putting together programs for next year, sometime late this summer. And we usually have demonstrations in September, October, November, and then we have the art show at the Chelmsford Library in December and January, and then presentations again February, March, April, and May. So we have a number of artists that we will be looking for, and definitely will take suggestions on the type of art or media that you would like to see. Oh yes, and one of the other thing is to make sure that your membership is up to date. If you're interested in joining the Art Society, you can go on our website, thechelmsfordartsociety.com. I do the art website, and I am trying to make sure that everything is up to date on there, but there's a link there under members that you can pay for your membership with a PayPal account, or you can print out the form and send it in the mail to our post office box at 401 Post Office Box, Chelmsford, Mass., the Chelmsford Art Society. So we need to have people do their membership, and sign up to volunteer for programs for this next coming season and also for the art shows that are coming out. We will also be doing an art show at the Chelmsford Library in July, after the 4th of July show. So if you can get your artwork together and decide what you're going to be doing, we will be doing online registrations for all of our art shows.
Okay. So this is pretty much what it comes out to once I ink it. Very, very sloppy. I normally work a little, a lot slower at home, to be honest. But yeah, so generally it's going to look like this. I do like it a little thicker on the outside, but these are ones that I've done earlier, so they end up looking, similar to this. And what I just did earlier too is I like to use the pencil. I do a little outline around the subject just to kind of guide my saw while I'm doing it. Makes it a lot easier for me, and I like to keep like a little bit of the reveal. There's the ink and then there's the wood again, kind of highlighting the lines a little bit better.
I'm looking at the legs of the, are they storks or are they what?
Cranes.
Cranes.
I guess.
Do you ever snap the wood as
Oh
you're
yeah,
cutting?
yeah. That's the nice thing about wood. They have wood glue, so.
Okay, glue it back together again, huh?
The whiskers on this thing probably snap like 20 times. And like, I'll be on the table, not do it, and then the thing will fall over, or I'm doing something here, and I'll move the saw snaps it, it's just like horrible, horrible. That one, there's a whole bunch of glue holding that thing together. I think some staples too. Yeah, if you look the back of it, it's like kind of a mess, but as long as the front looks nice.
Okay.
All right, let me go ahead and try to saw this. So it's going to be a little loud. If you have a question, just stop me because I wouldn't be able to hear you.
Are there any questions from anybody in the audience? Because there's a number of people connected.
So when you're doing the timer set,
Yeah, sure.
are you kind of looking at a general picture of it and then adding all your own?
No, so the picture is kind of.
Okay, can I repeat your question? When you're doing the tiger, do you have a general idea of what you're doing? Do you have a template that you're working off of?
The template is my own drawing that I print out from the computer. So all of these kind of start on Photoshop. So I drew them from scratch on Photoshop, then I'd print them out, like kind of separate the shapes, and then I go and cut them out. That answer your question, man? All right.
Are there any other types of
Um,
saws that you have used?
I've used a jigsaw only to cut off like rough stuff. So if you notice the saw, it's got like, this is like 11, 12-inch throat here. So this is only the clearance that you've got. So if you go and cut in like all the way in here, it's a little bit tough. So sometimes I'll just really quickly take a saw, kind of just rough out the inside here,
Oh, okay.
just so I can get in there a little bit more. Big challenge of these is like, if you got something here, but you can't reach because of this, then some of the tricks you can do is like flip the saw backwards, and maybe you can get to it at another angle, but you'll have to saw backwards.
That would be very difficult for your,
You don't really have a choice. So
Okay.
there's that. You can use a chisel, pretty much any means to get the material off. And if you can roughly get it off, you can kind of refine the edge with maybe some sandpaper or a file or something.
right,
like that.
well, do you sand your edges then, or?
Yeah. I just don't want any like burrs and stuff on the ends. But you'll see this one, it kind of has a lot. It's only because this material that I used, it's just from the big box store, and I've never used this material before. And the core of it is actually like really, really fuzzy. And it's weird because when you sand it, it doesn't sand super smooth. So yeah, I'd probably stick with something like birch or pine, something with a little bit more of a solid core. It's gonna like be a little bit hard to saw because this was very easy to solve, but I think the end result, the edges anyway, probably not worth it for me.
Now, is there any coating or anything on this wood after you're done? No
No.
varnish, no shellac, no
No.
staining of any sorts?
I like, because I kind of like the matte finish on it. I don't want to make it too shiny. I don't want to take away from kind of the natural grain of it. I have tried some clear stuff, but it kind of just leaves that, you know,
Just
that
penetrates in?
sheen on it, yeah. And I've done like thinner stuff, and then it kind of tints it like yellow. I don't really like that. So, I mean, yeah,
Okay.
it's in the box, so hopefully it can last pretty long.
Well, what is the oldest piece that you've done?
Oh, this piece, my very first piece.
Oh,
Yeah. So this was actually burned with a burnishing tool.
okay,
So
yes.
this was at a very experimental time in my life where I was doing all kinds of stuff. So I cut it with this, but then I drew it out, and then I used a burnishing tool to kind of just like give it some color and contrast. And this is, you know, as soon as I got this thing, I made this thing. So however old that is. But this has held up pretty well. So, and these frames too are were also handmade. You know, they used to have the address back here, but these are all made on a machine. I think, you know, the guy had all the little kids do it. It was like a whole workforce.
Oh, okay.
And they had to do it. Like, this guy knows how to do it. His mom knows how to do it. It's pretty crazy. But I don't have a lot of these handmade frames anymore. So these I will probably keep for my own collection, like this frame here, and then the frame that these are going to be going into
Okay.
eventually.
Would you say that was 5 years ago, 10 years?
Probably like, what am I now? Maybe.
And how old are you now?
So that was like 13, 14 years ago, 13 years ago about. So yeah, a little while. But I mean, it looks the same other than being a little rusty.
Well, if you ever need a good framer, the past president of the Art Society has a shop down the street. Picture yourself framing, and she does a lot of shadow box work
Okay. So
and custom framing, so.
I don't know really anything about it. It's just like, it looks a little bit different than, you know, your typical frame. So let me just show you the inside of how I taped it. So all these boxes had to be like folded and stuff, and you know, it's like every single piece of this had to be put together. So the back of it
Oh,
is
okay.
just this. So there's little, you know, all this was just cardboard. This gives you the spacing from the frame in the back.
Right.
This back is like a
Is it
velvety, like
velvety
a velour.
paper?
Um,
Or is it velvet?
I guess it's velvet. I don't know. It's like that fuzzy stuff.
The
And then
fuzzy stuff, huh?
yeah, and it's just like glued in the back of it. And then on top of that sits the mat, and then it all just goes into the frame, kind of like this.
Now, you mentioned you take commissions, correct?
It depends who's asking. Is that on YouTube?
Yes?
There's some weird people on YouTube, but what's the job?
No, they're not weird people on this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, in the end, I'll do what, you know, if the money's right, I'll do whatever. I don't, but it depends. It depends. If they're easier to work with, then I will more likely do it. If they have very, you know, clear, like if they're very opinionated on it, then it's very hard to work with them, because it's like, then just do it yourself. You know what I mean? You don't hire an artist, you know, and just and tell them how to do it. Same like a plumber,
Artistic
you know?
precedence has to be there.
Right.
Okay, we're at 39 minutes into this demo, so just time yourself.
Barely did anything. Okay. Let me try. I'm just gonna rough cut this out real quick.
Okay. get that out of there without breaking the edge?
So it kind of bends, so I kind of
Okay.
slide it through that way. Sometimes if it's a really big piece or it's a thicker piece of wood, you just kind of have to back it up real slowly. And that's kind of where you're at risk of snapping the blade, because if it gets stuck in here,
Yeah.
and then you go and twist it like that, or you're not too careful, yeah, then it'll definitely snap. But you see how, like, I ran into that problem where the saw can only go this far. Got to back it up and then come back from the other side. So I would probably rough out each shape like this just so it's more manageable.
Okay.
And then I would go and cut all the stuff around it. And because you guys probably don't want to listen to that all day, luckily for you guys,
You brought pieces.
with some TV magic, they're already done, see?
Okay.
So it's just, for me, something about, like, when you draw it and then you actually get to, like, hold it after. Very, very cool. Oh, welcome, guys. So that's my master and his wife right there. Uncle Tong. Yeah, so he's the one who saved me and got me these blades. Otherwise, I wouldn't
No
be here.
demo today. huh?
Otherwise, I would have ghosted you guys. No. So, yeah, so now I have my individual pieces. I'm looking at my template here as far as, and I have this just for placement. And then another thing I also want to get into, like, you'll see, like, there's some negative space. So what you got to do is you got to punch a little hole. I use a little nail, punch it in,
Oh,
and then
okay.
I undo the blade here. So this is just all kind of held in with friction. So then the blade just comes out like that, right?
Oh, okay.
And then you just kind of thread the hole, and then put it back in, cut it, and then out it goes
Reverse
again.
it out, yeah.
Right. So yeah, let me grab one of these frames. You remember these frames? Yeah? When's the last time you seen this thing? Yeah. So
So when you're putting your layers together, you're putting them on top of each other. What are you holding them together with?
some glue.
Oh,
I've never used this glue before, so hopefully it's going to be okay. But use anything that's sticky.
what kind of glue is that one?
This is Clear Grip Gorilla Glue. I've
Okay.
used wood glue, I've used super glue, I've used rice, doesn't matter. If it's sticky, it works.
Okay.
So right now, I just have to make sure that I get the right look inside the mat. And then I also got to dry fit it because I'm not sure if, oh crap. I'm not sure if it's going to fit in the frame, but. All right, hold on real quick. Okay. So the idea is to kind of have the two clouds in the back, and then on top of that, one bird, and then on top of that bird, the other bird. So so like 3 layers is pretty much all this frame can handle. So
Okay, I have a question of how did you get such great detail in the tiger eyes? The tiger piece is amazing.
the eyes, well, you see, if you look closely, there actually is no detail at all. I left it. There's no iris, no nothing. So I don't know what kind of detail this person's asking about, but you just draw it. It's a pen. It's not like I cut out the saw myself with the saw. So yeah, if you can do it with a pencil, then you can do it on that. Hold on real quick. All right, so let me
You're
just.
gonna have all your fingers glued together here.
Yeah, that happens a lot. This is like Gorilla Glue, so I'm a little scared. Okay. So right now, I'm kind of just roughly matching it up to my template here. And normally I do use wood glue because that's just what I have handy. And the nice thing about wood glue is you can move it around a little bit after. And this stuff is supposed to like be instantly bonded in a couple seconds. So let's hope I don't have to move it. I need to cut this. So it's a little bit too long for the frame. I probably should have measured that before I put glue on it, but that's okay. Cut the edges here.
Smaller cloud, huh?
What's that?
Smaller cloud.
Yeah, that's okay. The mat will cover it. Okay. Happy with that. Yeah, so when I have it in place, I just press it in and it only takes a couple seconds to hold. The problem is though sometimes with this, this kind of fuzzy background, some of the glue kind of just gets absorbed in there and doesn't really stick too well. So get something that, you know, a little thicker would be a lot easier. I'm getting a bunch of glue on your table. I hope that's okay.
Clean it up.
All right.
Acetone should probably take it off.
Okay. Yeah, this glue has proven to be very messy.
To move the frame a couple inches to the right so that he can get the whole picture in. That's good.
Okay, cool.
Just so we could get the whole thing in the camera.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Very nice. 10 minutes.
Now, do you need the mat around it, or?
Yeah. Well, you don't need it, I guess, but if you have to know before you start whether you're going to have a mat or not, because if you don't have a mat, like you'll see this one, you have to make sure that the design is going to be able to like,
carry
be
the
visible.
lines all the way through
Right,
to the
right,
frame. Okay.
Right. And then you'll see in this one, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of out of view. That was just kind of a decision I made before doing this.
Okay.
And you don't want to see like the hard square cut on the ends.
Okay.
So I'm just referring to all this stuff. When I do the template out, I don't cover any of the stuff underneath it, and that helps me place things a little bit better because, you know, match up curves, match up lines, stuff like that.
Okay. And I want to mention again that you are at Western Avenue in Lowell, in Studio 404 on the 4th floor. And there will be coming up next weekend, open studio.
Yep. I'm there every Saturday, so come hang out.
Oh, every Saturday you're there?
I mean,
Or every Saturday that there's open studio?
right.
Okay.
Every open studio.
What hours?
What's that?
What hours?
I'm there like probably 11 till like really late at night, probably playing darts with this guy. It's become our hangout spot, so you're welcome anytime.
It's a cool studio.
Oh yeah, you've been by. Okay, almost done here. All right. So this is kind of, it's still drawing a bit here. All right. So let me just give that a few minutes to dry.
Okay, because we're at about 7 minutes to go.
7 minutes ago? Okay. Well, I want to take this time to thank my teacher here, Mr. Tong in the background, even though he only showed me for about 10 minutes how to do everything. He gave me all the stuff, and, you know, 10 years later, here I am. So, so I just like to, you know, learn new tools and stuff and kind of adapt that and use that in my own process. So, you know, he looks at this stuff and is very, very different from the type of work that he's used to doing. But I just saw it as like taking an illustration to kind of like the next level. So I'm always searching for what's going to make it stand out even more, you know.
Have you ever thought of putting color?
I have, but I'm terrible at color, you know. So unless it's like something on the computer where I can like mess with it endlessly, then that's fine. But when you're staining, it's just tough, and I don't want it to be too colorful because it kind of distracts from the overall look. I may only do like a single color. Where you see here, it's kind of like just a wash. So this is like a little ink and watercolor, just to give it a little tonal difference.
Well, does the serpent have color on it? Because it looks like it does.
That's just the burning of the laser.
Oh,
So the laser
okay.
itself just burns it, and so it gives that variation in color. Yeah. This is straight to the printer. I didn't touch it, and then just glued it up.
Okay.
Stuff like this is just ink. So all it is the same color ink. You know, the background is done with a toothbrush to give it a little bit more texture, I guess. And yeah, I think this is okay by now. Okay, let me try to straighten this up. Where'd the friend go?
You have papers on the floor over there. I don't know if your mat is over on
No,
that.
I got it right here.
You got it?
So I may do some minor adjustments on this, but essentially you're gonna end up with a piece like this.
Fantastic.
Did that just fall down? Yeah. Yeah. All right, so
Okay.
it's wood. You could glue
It's
it.
wood and it's glue and the glue's not set. But this is a live demo.
Whatever.
This is what you get.
It's a performance, all right? Yeah, I think, and that's in a very, very small nutshell, that's my process.
Well, I think this is fantastic because you think of an art society, we always see watercolor, acrylic, oil, and there's so many more different things to art. And this is a great example of another media and how it's used in art.
And that's a great thing, but it's also, I'm like, what do you call it? I have no idea what you call it. Like, what is it called in Vietnam? Yeah. Yeah.
Just Vietnamese wood is what they call
No,
it.
the Vietnamese word is.
I can't hear it at all. Can you repeat what he's saying?
He says it's called cưa lọc, which my Vietnamese ain't that great. It sounds like you're sawing something. Oh, all right, same thing then. I thought
Wait a
it'd have a
minute,
very
you don't
elaborate
speak
name.
Vietnamese?
I'm terrible at it. After 6 kids, my parents gave up teaching me. So, I actually, his wife runs a Vietnamese school, and I took that class for a little bit. I was probably the oldest kid in that class. Well, I wasn't even a kid. I was a grown man at the time, going to school with kids, and I don't think I passed.
Okay. So do you have
Anyway.
any of your work in galleries?
I have in the past. They're not like official galleries, but that's why I did that big one, and then this one. There
Okay,
will
the
be.
gallery down in Western Avenue.
Right. So.
And do you have an Instagram page?
Yeah, it's Draft Studios.
Craft Studio?
Draft Studios. So you can find it on the site and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and Draft Studios is it's something that we built. Buddy Min, Mike, everybody. It's the whole idea of Draft Studios is us doing what we want to do, taking your passion, and kind of what we say, buying your time back, which is like be successful enough to where you don't have to work your other job, and kind of just eventually turn that around to make make work fun.
Right,
Yeah.
good philosophy.
Yeah.
Okay, you have an Instagram online presence. I didn't see a lot of work under Draft Studio of some of the pictures of this.
Yeah, so you'll find not only these things, but what we do as a company, and we do a lot of web-based stuff. So Min is a developer. We work with photographers, musicians, everything. So some of the things that we like to do, and a big reason why we went to Western Ave, and we went in during the pandemic, right? So no one can walk around, no one can go to open studios and buy people's stuff. And so at a time like that, it's very important to have an online presence.
Right.
And we came in trying to help people in the artist community kind of open that up, because, most people aren't that, used to that, that whole online
Right.
thing.
Tech savvy enough to
Right.
put stuff up there.
So we're trying to help out our community a little bit, because this is my first time in an artist community. So it's fun for me to talk to other really creative people, kind of bounce ideas off of them and stuff like that. Because other than that, I was just in the basement by
Okay.
myself. So yeah, stop by anytime. We're there.
Again, first Saturday of every month at Western Avenue, Studio 404.
Yeah.
Go see them. And I just want to thank everybody for participating tonight, and for Jimmy Lee for doing an interesting presentation with particularly new media.
Thank you. Thank you again, Chelmsford Society of Art, for having me, hosting me. It was a great time.
Okay.
To all the hordes of people out there, thank you for coming. YouTube, I'll see you around.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
So how many millions of people signed on?